Hey everybody, welcome back to Behind the Grape. It's been a couple of days. Hope everyone's been out enjoying some of the lifted restrictions in and around the city and have been out enjoying some of your favorite beverages and hopefully some wine. Uh, Today, another great day. We're going to go into the red realm of wine with one of the most iconic wineries on the planet, with Penfolds Winery out of South Australia. And today we're going to look at the Penfolds Bin 389 Cabernet Shiraz. This is 2017 vintage out of South Australia. And this particular wine, it's sourced from four different GIs for the 2017 vintage. McLaren Vale, Barossa Valley, Pathway, and Rattenbury are the four GIs, or geographical indicators, as they're known as. Bin 389 is often referred to as Baby Grange. And if you know Penfolds, Grange is one of the most iconic wines on the planet, and out of Australia for sure, in the top three, along with probably Henschke's Hill of Grace and Clarendon Hills Australis. I would say those would be my top three out of Australia. But Bin 389, it came around by chance in 1960 with Max Schubert, who was the original winemaker of Grange, of Penfolds, I should say. And one of the reasons that it's called the Baby Grange is this vintage, or each vintage of 389, is actually aged in the previous Grange vintages barrels. In this case, they use 250-liter American hogshead barrels. So hogshead is the name of the barrel. So that by aging it in those Grange barrels, it does take on some of the nuances and flavors and textures of the wine. And when they say Baby Grange, it truly is. This particular bottle comes in at around $100 here in the Ontario marketplace, whereas Grange comes in at, I believe now it's $895, maybe even $900 for a single bottle of Grange. So maybe it's not Baby Grange, maybe it's like great grandchild Grange, because the price is quite different, but it's still an interesting story. I was first turned on to this wine by two individuals, Serge Janik, who we spoke about in a previous episode of Meadowvina Wines, but also someone who you may know of as well, Mr. Dylan Proctor, who at the time was, I believe, the main educator in North America for Penfolds, was one of the stars of the movie Psalm, someone who I respect a lot. And while going through the Penfolds lineup, Dylan poured me some of this wine, and I was immediately hooked at the plushness, the richness, the texture, the length, just the clean winemaking. And Penfolds has had a history of making great wines that all have a solid, stunning mid-palate that just keeps delivering. And if you can believe it, a winery with the history of Penfolds, there's only been four winemakers: Max Schubert, Don Ditter, John Duval, who then went on to do his own project, and today Peter Gago, who I've had the pleasure of meeting and tasting with on a number of occasions when he's been in the marketplace. Lovely individual, lovely man, great winemaker, and he now carries on the legacy of the three previous to him, and does it in an outstanding way. So let's look at the Bin 389 Cabernet Shiraz. It's slightly weighted more on the Cabernet side. I believe it's 56% on the Cabernet, and the remainder being made up of the Shiraz, which is arguably Australia's number one grape in a commercial market. And then just before we get into this wine as well, the Bin 389 is actually the number one wine in the Penfolds collection in the secondary wine market. So it is a very popular wine. It's got great ageability, and this is a 2017 vintage. It's a baby, and when we get into this wine, you'll see it is really a baby. I mean, this will sit till easily 2030, and will still deliver exceptional nuances. So as we always do, we always want to start with the color of the wine. Looking at this one, this is a deep, opaque, ruby red wine. It's got great viscosity. Like, you can just see the tears that are just streaming down. usually an indicator of fairly high alcohol. It's very clean, and on the nose, oh, there's all kinds of black fruit, black cassis, kirsch, black currants, black cherries, very fresh and ripe. There's some secondary notes of vanilla bean, vanilla pod, mint, eucalyptus. And eucalyptus is usually one of the main markers you get out of the Shiraz, as an example. And then that vanilla bean and vanilla pod coming from the oak. You know, there's some really bright purple flowers in there. All kinds of cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg. And almost like a little graphite for some minerality. I mean, the wine is super expressive, and just so alive. Well, we're going through some really great wines on this cast. Again, right, as we talk about, the palate mimics the nose. I mean, this is all black fruit, fresh black cherry, black cassis, black currants, blackberries, vanilla pod, vanilla bean, purple flowers. Wow, and it's, again, the mid palate, it's just so bright and vibrant. So that granite, the all the toasted oak notes, cardamom, nutmeg, all those baking spices, it almost tastes like a Christmas cake, in terms of all the different aromatics on there. It's got a really long finish. Like, it's still releasing all kinds of black fruit on the back. The acid is probably on the medium side. It's a little low on the acid. It's 2017. I expected a little more acid because 2017 wasn't an overly hot vintage in South Australia. But the alcohol is very present. I mean, this is a solid 13.5%, I would say, because it's still sitting there, but remarkably balanced. The richness of the fruit and the great oak integration. It's so complex on the palate, but so balanced. Nothing is overpowering the other. I mean, if anything, maybe a little bit of the fruit, but I think that's a great thing because that's what I want to remember about this wine. It's a wine that, it's not for everyday consumption. It is a $100 bottle, but if you can, and you're looking to treat yourself, I highly recommend heading down to your vintages, or in this marketplace, get in touch with Jill Kirk over at Mark Anthony Wines. They're now the importer for all the Penfolds in Ontario. Maybe put a bottle down and open one now to see what it is, make some notes, and then go back to it 10, 15 years from now and open the second bottle and see how it tastes. The one thing I think you'll find is with the wines of Penfolds, they're so well made, they age beautifully, and you will see consistency and similarity even on the age of the bottles. So that's today's episode of Behind the Grape with the Penfolds Bin 389. Iconic winery. And if you can, I do recommend you picking up a bottle. You won't be disappointed. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next episode.